Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing the team that helped me reach expert rank in the Great League and climb all the way up to number 15 in the world on the Go Battle League leaderboards. This team is built around a meta titan from last season, Shadow Malamar. Malamar took a backseat with big buffs to Bug and Dene this season. However, in the elo range that I was playing in, I noticed that Bug type usage and Dene usage were way down. So I figured it may be worth a shot testing out Shadow Malamar once again, and honestly, I had amazing results with it. The one thing that I do want to caution before we get into the battles is I know not every elo range is going to be the same. I had amazing results with Shadow Malamar. I went 5-0 to expert and then a 3-2 the set after to climb up to 27-57. But in your elo range, if you're still seeing a ton of Bug types and Dene, then I don't think this team would have nearly the same effectiveness. So with that disclaimer out of the way, let's hop into the matches and let's take a look at my expert run in the Great League with Shadow Malamar. Hopping to the first match, picking up a bit of a tricky lead, Shadow Malamar against Shadow Typhlosion. Shadow Typhlosion can generally beat the Shadow Malamar, and obviously it would completely destroy the Tinkaton in the back. Tinkaton is another Pokemon that I really felt like teams were disrespecting. Previously last season, I ran Furret as the third with this team, but I really didn't want to be that weak to a Galarian Moltres or a Mandibuzz, so I opted for Acid Credilli. Here we get a Thunder Punch catch onto our Credilli, which is very, very nice. They're going to stay in, bank and incinerate, and out comes Serperior. This is a matchup turned from a loss to a win by opting to run Acid. Acid gives really nice fast move pressure in this matchup. And Acid is also key for Credilli to not get completely destroyed in the Shadow Drapion matchup. They fire off a debuffed Frenzy Plant. I'm just going to undertap here and pick up the knockout with the Rock Tomb. So Rock Tomb is going to land. Are they going to bring back in the Typhlosion? No, they do not. They bring in Lapras, and I send in Malamar. Malamar has a dominant matchup. What a catch by my opponent. They catch the superpower onto Typhlosion, but importantly, they did not sneak through and incinerate. So they end up just letting it go. I'm just going straight superpower here. I'm now 2 stages debuff, but due to the triple resist on the Psy Waves, they can just never farm down. I'm very comfortable burning my final shield here to pressure my opponent to empty all their energy. I know that my Tinkaton in the back will be able to survive 2 Sparkling Arias and the Psy Waves because this is the non-Shadow Lapras, so I'm in a very comfortable position as long as my opponent doesn't enter the matchup with a ton of energy. So I get to send in Tinkaton, we land at the Play Rough, and now we just have to get to the Bulldoze, and Bulldoze will be able to knock out and give us the win. Sparkling Aria will connect. It's just not going to 2-shot, and now we get our Bulldoze. Bulldoze, not a very good move, but it's a very fast move, KOing the Lapras, and that's a game 1 win. We move to game number 2. I did 1 battle at midnight and then went to bed, so game number 2 of the set is now in the daytime, and it's a very nice lead, Shadow Malamar against Shadow Dusclops. If you watched yesterday's video, you know that I built a team that was criminally weak to Dusclops, and Dusclops proved to be a big problem for that team game after game after game. Well, with Shadow Malamar, I just beat Dusclops very, very comfortably. Dusclops obviously does have a slight pacing advantage, but they just can't out-damage the Shadow Malamar. My opponent should always look to play the 2s here, because they need me to exit with as little residual energy as possible, and if they play the 1s, I exit pretty close to a move. So they're going to shield, force my final shield, and I will win switch advantage, which is part of the goal of this team. Not only do Malamar and Tinkaton cover each other's weaknesses very well, but I feel like Credilli and Tinkaton do the same. They send in Drapion, I bring in Tinkaton, it's a Shadow Diggersby in the back, and now I get to send in Credilli. With the Shadow Diggersby, I'm a little worried that Scorching Sands may 2-shot. If it does, I will consider going for a Rock Tomb, but it does not. And since it does not, I can just go straight Grass Knot and win the game. As it turns out, I probably could have Rock Tombed into Grass Knot and it still would have KO'd, because obviously as the Shadow, they're taking way more damage as well as dealing way more damage. So they go for another Scorching Sands. I do get debuffed, so I will fire off the Grass Knot. This will easily pick up the KO, and there's just no way for Drapion to win this game, because I have a very high rank Tinkaton. This Tinkaton does have a Poison Sting bulk point, so my opponent deals less damage than they normally would. We get the Bulldoze debuff, but realistically, the game was over even without it. Moving into game number 3, Shadow Malamar, this time into a non-Shadow Dusclops. Again, I'm very happy to see these Dusclops. After how bad yesterday's team was at a Dusclops, I knew I had to make a change, and I did. And we are feasting on these Dusclops leads. Opponent save switches into a Shadow Sableye. And there is the Tinkaton disrespect right on cue. Tinkaton going to hit the field, a complete wall to Sableye, and here I just want to either knock them out or get shields down. They no shield, they get fully KO'd, and now in comes Dusclops. Even if my opponent shielded and really tried to make a play for swap, I would have been very okay letting them have switch advantage. Having as much Shadow Malamar energy banked as I have just really makes me feel confident even if I don't necessarily have alignment. Play Rough is going to land onto the Dusclops. Dusclops, it gets to a ton of charge moves, but it never deals a ton of damage, so they're unable to farm down, and they need to Shadow Punch to pick up the KO. I could have thrown a foul play, but I'm really prioritizing keeping a lot of Shadow Malamar energy. They Shadow Punch in the back. I was expecting Komo-O from the typing, but it's actually Hakamo'o. Hakamo'o, if they shield both superpowers, this could get a little bit uncomfortable. This is obviously a -1 superpower. They let it go, and that dramatically simplifies the game. I still have the Shadow Malamar, and it's healthy enough that I should be able to handle that Dusclops no problem, and since they have already taken some damage, and acids really add up in this matchup as well, I can just continually chip away with Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb is going to be shielded. My opponent now going to switch into Dusclops, and Dusclops is just going to get knocked out by the Rock Tomb. I undercharge, hoping to leave it at 1 HP, but it does still end up KOing. In comes Hakamo'o. Hakamo'o does get the farm down. The Psywave goes through with Malamar. Opponent does get damage registration error, but I have a shield, so I can shield up the Dragon Claw. Psywave KOs, and we move to 3-0 in the set. For game 4, oh my goodness, look at the spice. Shadow Malamar into a Shadow Ember Charizard. Charizard, a Pokemon that I really like. And in the past, when it had Prime Wing Attack, it was unbelievably fun to use. Testing it this season, I honestly ended up feeling a little bit underwhelmed. I really felt like it missed that old Wing Attack pacing, which it just doesn't quite have now that it has Ember. But I'm very comfortable committing both shields and just going for a Psywave down. I know Malamar just has the better stats, so we're going to get a farm down. In comes Dedenne, and this is uncomfortable. I will Superpower because I want some chip damage onto the mouse, and then I save switch into Tinkaton. Save switching a Tinkaton seems like crazy behavior. However, considering they had a Charizard in the lead, I was anticipating that they would be weak to Tinkaton in the back. It turns out they're not. There is actually a Diggersby here. Even so, I wanted to save the hard counter for Dedenne, which is obviously the Credilli, for the end game, where I can do a really good job of shutting down that Dedenne energy. I'm going to fire off another Play Rough. That's going to be getting Diggersby quite low. My opponent will be able to pick up the knockout. Very nice overfarm from them there. Fire Punch will KO. In comes the Malamar, and I'm healthy enough to withstand the quick attack and make the foul play. The high-ranked Shadow Malamar paying dividends. All that's left is going to be that Dedenne, and look at the acids go to work. Dedenne will go for the Play Rough. If I didn't have an ability to lower their attack with Rock Tomb, I would lose this game, because the Thunder Shocks would eventually put it into Play Rough range. But with the Rock Tomb, now there's just no out for my opponent, because their Play Rough will not KO, and it will not put them into a range where they can farm down. So it's actually me who gets the farm down, and we're now 4-0 in the set. Shadow Malamar into Galarian Corsola, another one of these ghost types that would have been a really big problem for the Magnezone team, but we are feasting on it with Shadow Malamar. Malamar going to strike first in this matchup, firing off the foul play, that connects and deals very heavy damage. I'm going to shield, and I may even be able to farm down here. Opponent pivots out into, oh, that's not a Samurott, that's a Duat. Oh my goodness. I just took so much Fury Cutter damage to get to the superpower. In hindsight, I should have just switched out instantly and sent him the Tinkaton. I shouldn't have taken that damage, but man, I just lost so much health on that Malamar. Duat apparently is very spammy. I was not really familiar with Duat's moveset. Apparently it is Fury Cutter and Aqua Tail. I farm up quite a bit, and I just want the Duat gone. Because technically, even though Credilli would still do pretty well there, I just want the Duat gone because I really don't want Bug-type fast moves when I have Malamar. I'm going to overfarm watching for the catch, and they get the catch anyway. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. I undercharge the Play Rough to leave them at 1 HP and get a free Fairy Wind. So they did switch lock themselves by getting that catch. What are they bringing in here? It's not the Duat, it's the Diggersby. I banked the Play Rough, and now I'm going to be sending in Credilli. Credilli, obviously a very good matchup into the Diggersby. Diggersby Scorching Sands does get that attack drop. A bit of good luck goes my opponent's way. Here I'm going to overfarm, play to the CMP tie. I want to try and burn this switch clock as much as I can, because obviously I know I'm going to be locked in this matchup for quite a while. Diggersby going for Scorching Sands number 2. This one gets the debuff as well. In comes Duat, and I see a way for me to win this game. If I bring in the Tinkaton and throw the player up, I'm going to lose because I get one turn switch and I'm going to get outpaced. So my win con is this. I'm going to throw the Bulldoze because Bulldoze doesn't KO. I get 0 turn switch. I snipe down with the Malamar and now I'm up energy. Even after taking the Fury Cutters, I was still outside of quick attack farm down range. We get the superpower, and by not throwing our banked play rough, we get the 5-0 set, and that does give us exact elo. We get to 2750 on the dot. Expert rank has been achieved. Only showcasing 5 battles felt like it wasn't enough, so I do have a few extra battles from the set after hitting Expert. And we get a great lead Shadow Malamar into Shadow Primeape. Out comes Corvynite, and this is a problem Pokemon. My plan here is to foul play to get some chip damage and try for a catch onto Credilli. Even if I fail this catch and it is the Iron Head, I'm just going to sacrifice the Credilli. The important thing, as we do actually get that Sky Attack catch, the important thing is that I never go down a shield. You never want to be down a shield when your opponent has a Primeape. They now go for the Iron Head. Because I caught the Sky Attack, I actually live 2 moves, which I wouldn't normally do. I can fire off this Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb is going to be shielded. They're not going to get the farm down, so they're forced to switch in the Shadow Primeape. I bring in Malamar. Malamar, these Psy Waves are going to be adding up immensely on this Shadow Primeape. They're going for the Rage Fist. I know that I'm not going to farm down, so I will fire off the last second foul play just to knock them out. If they want the energy, they have to shield, and they will shield. But this is really nice. I now have Shadow Malamar energy in the zeros, which is exactly where I want it. I'm pretty sure Corvynite has a move banked. So if I see that typing in the top right, I'm clicking my foul play, and I do. So I click the foul play. This will be enough to just knock out the Corvynite. Shadow Malamar hits very hard in the back. It's a Lapras and Shadow Malamar. Let's go. We get to make it to the superpower, and this is just way too much damage. Superpower is going to connect. I tried to go for a catch there, but catch or not, the game's very much over. Lapras just has no ability to get through the Tinkaton, so I get to send in the Tinkaton, make it to the Bulldoze, and we will be able to take the win. Tinkaton in a few games was hyper valuable, and in a few other games, it's just been the Shadow Malamar show. Tricky lead in the next match, Shadow Malamar against Bellibolt. Bellibolt, I have 2 better responses in the back, so I'm going to stay in to start with Superpower to guarantee big damage or force a shield, and then save switch into Credilli. Bellibolt is going to bank energy, out comes Araquanid, and I'm so happy that Araquanid is not aligned onto my poor Malamar. Araquanid does lose the zeros to Credilli if it's running its typical moveset, which is Bubble Beam and Water Pulse. It needs Bug Buzz if it wants to win the zeros, and most are not running that. So I will fire off the Rock Tomb. This will just cleanly knock out the Araquanid, and down goes Araquanid. I have a little bit of health remaining. In comes Bellibolt. The timer's up, and unfortunately, I was in an awkward spot of still being switch locked and being unable to make a move. I shield respecting the Zap Cannon just to shield a Parabolic. That is a really unfortunate feeling. They are now at +2 defense, just ramping up more and more and more. I decided to go for the Bulldoze because I know a Play Rough will not knock out either. So I go for the Bulldoze, my opponent will end up no shielding, and being this far behind in energy to Bellibolt feels absolutely awful. They go for another Parabolic. I'm just going to overfarm to the max. Going for the Bulldoze, that's a beautiful catch on a Quagsire, but I should still be winning here because the Quagsire didn't sneak when they caught. I can just outpace with the Malamar. Malamar, I'm just going to get to 2 foul plays before they get to their next Aqua Tail. So this game is over. I farm up with the Malamar, and the moment I throw, I realize I have just thrown this game. I had to double up because they have a move. I'm 1 Psy Wave short. I just had to throw 1 more Psy Wave, and then I was fine, but I didn't. I get KO'd. They're on discharge for pacing, and this is so bad. Had I doubled up on moves with the Malamar, I could have won Charge Attack priority over that Bellibolt, but instead I fall agonizingly short of a move on Credilli, and we're going to lose this game. I really felt like this game was winnable, but you can't play perfectly in all of them, and my misplays caused my loss. Hopping into the final match, and it's another Quagsire. Shadow Malamar against Shadow Quagsire. Quagsire will be able to strike first here because I'm never going to want to throw an alignment, so if they want to Aqua Tail and dip, they will have the ability to do so. So Aqua Tail is going to land. A Gligar save switch occurs, and I stay in for way too long. I was just panicking. I am triple weak to Gligar with this team. They even shield the foul play as well. I send in Tinkaton, but my goodness, I am in a very tough spot. I know that Dig is a pretty mediocre move, so I am just going to no shield. Obviously, it's big super effective damage, but it's not going to one-shot or anything. Play Rough is going to land, and that is valuable damage onto the Gligar. Gligar will fire off a last-second charge attack. I will end up committing the shield here as they go for the dig. They pivot out into Quagsire, and now Quagsire will be under quite a bit of pressure. This Play Rough will get them low. They're going to shield. I switch into the Malamar, and I survive the 2 mud shots. I was 4 Psywaves away. I get to the superpower, and that's big damage onto the Quagsire. They're still switch locked, so I just bring in the Tinkaton right away to force their energy. I'm looking to sweep with Cradilly. In comes Cradilly, Acid down. I can't quite get it. Quagsire is going to make one last-second charge move. Aqua Tail is going to land, and now it's going to be up to what they have in the back, and it is a back Pokemon that favors me. Over farming here is actually very important. I always need to be close to a move, so that way when they switch in the Gligar, they don't get a lot of super effective Fury Cutters. I decided to let this go. I know they're debuffed here. They switch into the Gligar, and there is the Rock Tomb right on cue. I'm fine taking Air Slashes. I just did not want to take super effective Fury Cutters. In comes the Mandibuzz, and Mandibuzz just cannot get the farm down. So definitely not a perfectly played game by me, but we're able to claw our way back with good Cradilly energy management and get the win. All in all, I'm absolutely ecstatic to have hit Expert this early in the season. It feels a little odd that I hit it with some Pokemon that were really good last season and have taken a bit of a decline in usage this season. Actually, a pretty drastic decline in usage, but I was trying to build for the meta that I was seeing. And I know that metas are definitely going to be different depending on what elo that you're at, but with the drastic decline in Dedenne and the drastic decline in bug fast moves, obviously I did end up seeing a Gligar and I did end up seeing a Duat of all things, but I really felt like Shadow Malamar and its extremely strong neutral play could be an intriguing lead, and it did end up paying off. I do want to echo what I said at the start, which is that I don't think this is a team that could necessarily work at all elo ranges, just because obviously every elo range is going to have their own micro meta, and this was me making the call that people are kind of running more old meta style teams, and if they're not running as many of those bug moves and as many Dedenne, then Shadow Malamar is suddenly looking a lot more threatening, with a lot of its worst meta matchups suddenly not played as frequently. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.